today I would like us to look at we're going back and look at the overview of data analysis and the different type of, quantitative statistical analysis, the scales of measurement, and so forth. So that's what we will, and basically it's just to look at the process of data analysis, but we're looking at it quantitatively, and I'm well aware that the majority of us are going qualitative. So this is going to be the agenda for our discussion today. Now, the scales of measurement are very important because as researchers and also as students, you're going to be required to demonstrate in your research project that you have also considered the scales of measurement. And I hope there are people here with a very good grasp and understanding of statistical concepts, because this is where we are today. It might be one of those boring, extremely boring days, but it's still one of those days that we have to navigate nonetheless. So yeah, that's the agenda for the day today. Now, for those of you who have been with us from the beginning of the session, you will recall that part of what we are doing, and we're still carving that path right now, is the differentiation between the non-scientific and the scientific realities. So, as a researcher, you've been involved in a process of transition where you are transitioning from the non-scientific to the scientific. How is that? Remember, the non-scientific, we're saying it involves a whole lot of things. Authority, it involves opinion of peers, it involves traditions, debating, and accidental observation. Remember that. These are the elements or the aspects or the characteristics of the non-scientific. They're all over us. I mean, when we speak, when we talk, when we have a conversation, we easily use all of this or most of this or some of this. Your authority. I am, I'm talking to Godfrey. Godfrey is the boss for UNISA, so he's got an authority. Opinion of peers. This is what you are studying, and sometimes you find yourself listening to the opinion of peers a lot more because they matter. These are good friends that you get along quite well, and you have some discussions, and those discussions can influence the way in which you take decisions. Traditions, for example, this is how we do things in this organization, this company, and we've been doing this for years, so everybody who comes in must do it this same way. Those are the traditions. They matter. They are very, very influential in decision making. The issues around debate. There's currently a lot of debates going on, political debates on whether or not the situation in the Middle East is getting better, or whether or not the parliamentary ad hoc committees on policing and whatnot. So there's a lot of debates going on, and a lot of political commentators that getting involved. So they are debating all these issues. It's part of the nature of business that life is. Accidental observation, where you're observing certain things, but it's not really that it's systematic in the way that you do it. It's accidental. You just happen to be seeing that, being in that place, and so forth, and understanding how certain things are done. That's purely accidental. Now, this is where you were. We are now saying you need to transition to the scientific space. In the scientific space, what we are looking at is that whatever observation that you are involving yourself into is going to be systematic. So it's required of you to apply systematic observation. So your observation is not accidental. It's deliberate. this is what you're observing, this is what you want to observe, and it's systematic in the way that you're doing it. So if it's 10 o'clock, that every day, 5:30, you need to be at this point to observe this. Every day, 5:30, you are there to observe. So it's systematic, it's organized. It's not chaotic. There's a, you're intentional about what you want to observe. Control as well. So there are phenomenon and there are variables that you are able to control, that, you've got the scope that you are looking into. So there's control. So you're not just observing every other phenomenon or all the variables that are coming your way, but you've got control on what you are looking at. Yeah, I'm focusing on this because this is what I want to observe, and this is what I want to make my conclusion about. Replication. We speak about this. These are just the elements. The three elements of science is systematic observation, control, and replication. When you talk about replication, we really mean that it's reproducible. So you are able to replicate this. You're able to do it over and over, to reproduce it. So it must be in science, whatever you do, other authors, other scientists who are conducting, researchers should be able to get to the same kind of results that you are able to establish in your research. Now, replication is another aspect of science. So what we've been doing, or what we are doing in this whole proposal discussion, has really been, how do you put together a systematic observation with control, and that can also give you replication. Now, how do you then move from the non-scientific to the scientific? Basically, that's what we've been doing throughout. Now, when we get to the point of discussing data analysis, it is very, very important to understand that you first have to have that data, so for you to be able to analyze it. And what is data? Data can be defined in many ways, but let's just use this example that we were generously given by N. N says, let's just use a simple example here. Before you decide on what to wear in the morning, you collect a variety of data. Just simple. I mean, this is the simplistic way of talking about it, but I hope it will drop the penny. So you wake up in the morning, you going for an interview, you going to work, or whatever else that tickle your fancy or that you are interested in. Now, the season of the you're going to want to know, what season is it in the year? What is the forecast? That is the weather forecast going to be like. You look at, you establish that. Which clothes are clean and which are dirty? And what will you be doing during the day? So in other words, what is your day schedule? What will you be, you then analyze those data. So you look at the season of the year, you put it down and you say, what season are we on? You look at the weather forecast and you say, how does it, what does it look like today? Is it going to be rainy, cold, hot, whatever, dusty, windy, and just sunny, or what, cloudy, whatever? You look at that, and therefore you say, okay, I've got a set of clothes. All the dirty ones, obviously, you will chuck them away, and then you look at the clean ones and you want to wear them. Now, when you do the analysis, then perhaps you're going to say, oh, okay, summer. So our summers are usually warm in South Africa. So you're not going to look at summer and say it is warm, and that helps you. That helps you to determine the what you are going to wear. Then the analysis helps you to determine the best course of action. What am I going to wear? Do I need an umbrella, or do I need the raincoat, or do I just need some shades because they will be too sunny, too hot, and so forth and so. That is what an analysis does. So you base your apparel decision on your interpretation of the information. So basically, you look at what the weather is, the weather forecast, the season of the year, how the day is going to look like. What would you be doing after you had had an opportunity to to assess the day. Now you know what to wear. So essentially, you then have taken a decision on the basis of the data that was at your disposal. You may not, I mean, this is simple, but you may not really realize how much of the data you process because it's almost so natural and it comes to you just naturally. I mean, just every day when you wake up, it's almost like you look at the weather forecast, you know the season of the year, and so on and so on. Then you make decisions on those bases. That is what we're trying to do in the exposition of data analysis, ladies and gentlemen. What is the season of the year? You know, what is the weather forecast for the day to day? You know, and then which clothes am I going to wear? What will I be once I'm done with what I'm doing? What am I going to be wearing? All that kind of information at your disposal will then assist you and to some extent and empower you to make decisions. I hope this also just sort of reinforce the understanding of data analysis as we understand it. We'll get into the different types and quantitative examples, but before we do that, let me just check if I am talking to the right people here on this platform. Emmanuel, how are you? Are you at a stage where you are conducting analysis of data?
I was only accepted to UNISA in June, so we at the research proposal. I've only started. I still have to submit my proposal.
Oh, okay. All right. Have you started working on it or not yet?
Yes, I've already started working on it. And of course, I have a supervisor because it's a master's research degree, but it's still very early to say.
Oh, it's still very early in the day.
Yes.
All right. What idea do you have? I'll leave you after the what idea of your research or your investigation do you have?
So I would like to do a quantitative study, and basically, I'm assessing the effects of neuroticism in young adults. And because I am studying psychology, so it's more in the mental health field.
Okay.
I know that basically, yeah. So we are still deciding, nailing one topic actually.
Oh, I see. Great.
Yeah.
What piqued your interest on that eroticism?
Because I previously was doing my internship at Tshwane University of Technology as a student counselor, and when I was at the university, we noticed a lot of trends among young adults, in particular feelings of anxiousness, stress, isolation, and all of this aligns with neuroticism. So that's when I started to look into it. And I feel, in my opinion, that for my intervention, I would prefer to work with young adults because they still have a lot to learn, and there's a lot of change that can happen during that phase.
Oh, I see.
And it could be quite quick as well. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, welcome. But this is quite interesting to say the least. But I think because you said you're still at the proposal stage, maybe let's give you just a moment to breathe, because some of the people on this platform, you'll be amazed. They've been quite advanced, which is not a threat, but also it should not intimidate you, but it can also be an opportunity for you to learn. Now, today, because we are focusing on analysis of data, you can imagine we had already spoken about a whole lot of things that, now we are at the point where we are analyzing data. But welcome, Emanuela, and good luck with your proposal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Great. Happy, let me come back to you. Because we've got Emmanuel here who's setting up a proposal. which I think will be great for her to take as much lessons as it is from us. How are you happy today?
Good evening, Prof, and to all the fellow students. I'm very well, and you, Prof?
Yes, today the dice is rolling back to you, and I know that we have had a long conversation on your area of work, of research, but what I want to talk to you about, or what I would like you to share with us, is your analysis of data. And I'm saying analysis of data, you can outline what process are you applying to analyze your data, or you intend to apply to analyze your data if you have not yet started. If you have started, you can tell us what you are doing. If it's done, you can tell us how you did it. If you are going to still do it, you can tell us what is the idea of how you're going to do it. So I'm trying to give you no option to have no comment. Happy. if you are going, if you're not there yet, you can tell us this is what you think. But if you're there, you can tell us this is how I'm doing it. And if you have already done it, you will tell us this is how I have done it. So which one is it going to be, Happy?
Tonight I have no way to escape. It's like now
no escape route today.
I'm now at the Madlanga Commission.
Oh, maybe that could be what you want to discuss. You know, the way they are gathering data and the analysis of data. Because remember last week, I don't know whether you were in attendance when we said it's qualitative in nature, is it not?
So last week I was unable to attend the session. I was caught with something at work. Yeah, I wanted to attend, but I couldn't make it.
No, it's fine. Let me tell you what we did last week. We had a very long idea that Madlanga Commission is a qualitative study. In other words, we agree that it's a qualitative in nature. We agree that they are not going to look for a large number of people. So in other words, we in South Africa are not going to all participate. We're just watching. So we're not going to participate because, I don't know, you and I may not be called to come and testify. So the probability of you and I going there is 0, right? So it's a non-probability sampling. In other words, only those that have got anything to do with Madlanga Commission will be invited as participants. Now, the nature of the business is that they are going to ask them open-ended questions. For example, what do you know about Cat Madala or the whole lot of organized criminals and so on? And then you explain yourself and they probe more. Now, they will get a whole lot of evidence, which in this case is saying it will be a lot of data that they will need to go and analyze and tell us whether or not there is a relationship between the Minister of Police, who's currently been suspended, and the organized criminals, who some of them are arrested. Now, when you look at that from a unit of analysis and from the purpose and using the variables, is that the relationship is there, but then maybe they are going to establish what is the nature of the relationship, good or bad, and that's what they're trying to establish, that yes, there is a relationship, but maybe the relationship is good or maybe the relationship is bad. So I've given you the hint of what we were trying to discuss last week. But I'm saying it's qualitative, unless you want to argue that it's quantitative. I don't think they're going to go for a big sample. I think they're just going to go for a small sample. Would you agree?
I do agree, Prof. And I'm also thinking, I don't know if you'll also agree with me when I say it will be a convenient sampling.
Yeah, well, it's a strange convenient sample because they are just going to look at those people who've got anything to do with that criminal environment there, isn't it?
Or readily available, yes.
Yeah, they are not going to call pastor in a church somewhere, unless if he's touched by the conversations.
Exactly.
But I think it has got also, I do agree with you, but I think, and remember, we are not talking about the commission from a legalistic point of view. We are trying to convert it in a research context. I think there's an element of snowball as well, isn't it?
That yes, that's what I was also thinking about. Yeah.
If your name is mentioned, they might look at it and say, maybe what is the essence of the mentioning of your name, that they may actually end up saying, well, it will appear that your name is substantive, that perhaps you need to come and explain yourself. But there's an element of, as well, Happy, if you like, I think there is an element of triangulation of the data or the evidence, that they would be using pictures, they will be using records and other documents that may be relevant in the so they are not just going to listen, they are also going to triangulate data. Would you agree?
I do agree, Prof.
Okay, let's hear your you can take that and run with it, or you can take your own case and run with it. Emmanuel is listening.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me again repeat my topic is an assessment of the director's duty to declare personal financial interest in South African company law. So the data that I'll be using and analyzing from my perspective, it will be the primary and secondary sources of the law, which will be of course, the legislation, the case laws, the textbook, journal articles, and legal commentaries. So I'll be using those sources and see how they've previously assisted the court or will assist the court in making an informed decision or making a relevant judgment. I don't know if I'm on the correct path, Prof. Is that what you are trying to elicit from my side?
Yeah, just proceed. Yeah, we're listening. We're making notes as you speak.
Yeah, because basically, on my research, I'm focusing on to what extent are the directors required to declare personal financial interest in this current constitutional dispensation, because the research basically emanates from the fiduciary duties of directors. As you will know, previously directors of companies were strictly forbidden from obtaining, or taking a business opportunity that they became aware of as a result of their position as company directors, strictly, or maybe in other words, it was an inflexible approach. So now, given the fact that now we are in the democratic dispensation with the new constitution in place, and also with the new Companies Act, I've also came to notice that there's a certain provision in the new Companies Act. I think it's Section 7, which states that the Act must be interpreted in a manner that gives effect to the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. So when you consider the interpretation of the Act now, there must be in a manner that complies with the provision in the Bill of Rights. There can no longer be like inflexible approach on a variety of legislation. So when I also look at the Act itself, when the Bill of Rights as well, there's a provision that talks to this. When you look at the right to freedom of trade, because when you look both as the individual director and the company on its own, there is a competing rights to this rights to freedom of trade. So my research question will be, how do we strike the balance between these competing constitutional rights, the individual director's freedom of trade, and that one of the company? Because obviously the law can no longer be interpreted like strictly the way as it was from the common law perspective. It is also required to give effect to the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. For instance, like a director who maybe who identify a business opportunity while still occupying the business of a director in the previous company law, he or she was strictly forbidden from taking that business opportunity, whether the company is in a position to procuring that opportunity or not, or even in the case where the third party was not willing to conduct business with the company itself, the director was still strictly forbidden from pursuing that business opportunity. And once again, even if, for instance, maybe the board does not give the director permission to take the opportunity, even if the director resigns with the view of pursuing that business opportunity, the fiduciary obligation still applies. So, as with this current dispensation, I think the Act tries to address this issue that the common law still need to be interpreted in a manner that is flexible, considering all the available circumstances or factors.
Okay. So get to the analysis. How are you going to collect and analyze the data? The primary, you said you're going to use primary and secondary data.
Basically, Prof, I'll be looking at whether, like I've previously indicated, whether the court, I mean, we need clarity as to whether the court should follow the inflexible or the flexible approach.
Yes, but I want to know how then are you going to analyze? Remember, data is something. Remember, I said you. Okay, let's go back to what I said in terms of collection. I'm saying, let's use this example again, so you can relate to me how you're going to do it. I'm saying, you wake up in the morning. You want to make a decision on what to wear, right?
Yes.
So you have not made up a decision on what to wear. So let's just say that's an assumption that now you want to wear something, which is your decision to make. Now we say you have to collect a variety of data, secondary and primary. So that's you. Now we say you the first thing you're looking at is, okay, what is the season of the year? What is the weather forecast? Which clothes am I going to wear? What will I be doing during the day? And on the basis of all that information, you then make a decision. Now, in your case, I think I get the context, but I just want to know, you're now going to collect data. This is the collection of primary and secondary data. We're not gonna, I don't want us to argue that. Now you've got the data at your disposal, primary and secondary. So I want you to tell me, how are you then going to analyze that primary and secondary data? You've got it, you've collected it now. You see it's with you. How do you envisage to analyze it? Because remember, data is almost like, you just went in, you mined something. Yeah, now you're sitting with this information. It's there at you collected it, you're sitting with it, you now have it with you. Now you need to make sense out of it. That's what I want you to tell me. How are you going to then analyze it?
I think I will be analyzing it from an angle where Well, I'll be thinking whether is it channeling me to the flexible or inflexible approach.
What do you mean by that? Remember, I want you to analyze this. Okay, let's say this is qualitative data that you collected. I mean, it's records, it's documents, and everything else. Now you're sitting with it. It's with you now, Happy. You've got it with you. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you then analyze? How would you then analyze it? Because remember, it's you who must then do the analysis of that data. And remember, the analysis of data is also informed by techniques and methods and so it's not just something that happens on its own. There has to be a certain technique that you are following. So you need to tell me, this is what I would do. That's my question. How are you going to analyze it?
Meaning I have to choose a certain technique of analysis.
Yeah, meaning you have to know how you are going to analyze the data that you have collected qualitatively.
I think I will be analyzing it on how the information is going to assist the court in deciding on the on the metadata before it.
What technique will that be? How do you how do you do that? I'm looking at the doing. How do you do that? Because remember, we have got different techniques and tools and software that you use to analyze qualitative and quantitative data. Now, in this case, I want to know, you now have a data that you have collected. There's no problem with it. Now, I want you to say to me, here is the data, it's at your disposal. This is what I'm going to use to analyze it. It's almost like when somebody distributes questionnaires and people have now completed the questionnaires, they come back to you as a researcher. They don't come back to you as a researcher to file them, isn't it? You send questions to us, we have now answered them, we bring them back to you for you to analyze so it's your work. You have asked us, we have answered. Now it's you who's going to have to make sense of those answers through that analysis, isn't it?
I do understand, but maybe I might have missed the session on data analysis or what different method or techniques on data analysis.
No, you haven't missed anything. You just have to tell us, this is my proposal. This is how I'm going to collect data. You said primary and secondary, no problem. Now I'm assuming that this data has now been collected. So my question is, now that you have collected it, it's with you. You've given me the questionnaire. We filled it up as an example. Now it comes back to you. You are the one who's interested in understanding the phenomenon. You are the one who's solving the problem. So now we said, okay, there is the data. Now you have to make sense out of, because you are the researcher. We are only participants. We are only giving you information.
Yes.
So you have not missed anything. I want to know, okay, maybe use your proposal. How were you intending to analyze data from your proposal point of view?
I was making some sort of comparison. What the different authors, what are the different authors' views in relation to my topic?
Yes, but that is now good, because in literature you may want to go and look at what are the other authors are doing. So it's done. But now you are at the spot where you now say, this information I've collected, it is here. Okay, I see Clifford want to come to our rescue. Clifford, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Prof. After evening, colleagues.
Good evening.
I would think that you should be using the statistical approach, like to gather statistics on the amount of data and making sure that he is able to attach some form of statistics to those data. So like you would go into what has passed, what is the past trends that are there, what has led to the question that he's dealing with. So in other words, you are looking and saying to yourself that
What has led to?
That has led to this current situation of there being the fiduciary duties of the director being subject to the Bill of Rights, where the interest that he has now been drawn to in conducting business while in the domain as a director of the company. So we look at what the past position has been. So you do a statistic analysis and you look to see what is the trend that has been taking place. In other words, Prof, what we say, we look at statistical analysis and then we look at a descriptive analysis. So then you would summarize and characterize of the data and to determine what is happening. Like currently, what are the conflict situations that directors are facing in companies? And when you look at certain cases that have gone before the courts already, what was the position then? And then you need to strike a balance between what the Constitutional Court, the Bill of Rights says as compared to what he has raised, the question that he, and then you look at the inferential analysis. You look like to draw the inference to describe and allow the analysis to test the analysis to look and see what inference can be drawn from the decisions that has been taken so far from the two types of what do you call this? Two types of the two opposing views. The one where the company interest needs to be protected versus the interest of the individual under the Bill of Rights. And then I would think that the important aspect to also consider is the Bill of Rights. I mean, the restraint of trade clauses. Remember, when a director at the end of the day has a competing interest with that of the company, which the business which he obtained while engaged in the company as a director, obviously you have to look at his business contract as well. What are the most common forms of restraint of trade agreements? We all know that restraint of trade agreements are the most common way in which companies can restrict directors from, if at the end of the day he decides now that, listen here, things are becoming difficult, I'm not making headway, I'm interested in pursuing this business and I'd rather give up my directorship instead of me now going the way of now competing with the company for this business. So then there would be also the risk of him luring the company's business away from the company by virtue of his directorship. So there are various mechanisms in place. Like when you look at the King's 1, 2, and 3 reports, there's also what is called directors' fiduciary duties. So we need to be mindful also of the King's 1, 2, and 3 reports, what they say regarding directors' fiduciary duties. I think those are the types of data that will be able to assist us in finding what the common trend is and where our research needs to find a solution to the conflicting interest and making sure that interests are balanced. I'm not sure if I've assisted.
You know, there's something you're saying, Clifford, which I agree with, but maybe before we get there, let's talk about qualitative approach and quantitative approach. The examples of descriptive statistics and inferential chi-squared, all those are, we'll talk about them just now, but those are your quantitative data analysis techniques, right? Now, from what you are saying is, because remember now, Happy is on a qualitative, so he is collecting qualitative data and he has to analyze qualitative data. Now, what you're saying is, and I just want us to be clear on that. What you're then saying is, although that is going to be a challenge, that is going to present a challenge in that it is quantitative in nature. Now, it's qualitative in nature. Now, we already at the stage where we say you have already collected qualitative data. Qualitative data by virtue of director's liability, because remember, his sample is not going to be too big. Am I making sense to you, Clifford?
Yeah, no, Prof. I'm following you. I'm following you.
Yeah. So what the examples you are giving, but then when you move ahead, you're saying maybe you can look at some thematic understanding, like for example, theme one. King 1 and 2 and 3 report, where fiduciary duty. So maybe you might identify aspects that he wants to focus on for the director liability. Now you are also saying there are qualitative analysis techniques that you could apply, some of which is maybe looking at content analysis and so on, and coding, because he's not just going to look at directors' liabilities for the sake of it. Maybe he's going to look at director liabilities from from thematic areas that he may look at. For example, you are making an example of the fiduciary duty, what is it that is allowed, what is it that is not allowed. On all those areas, maybe those are the areas that is going to define them. But I'm trying to say there is a qualitative data collection technique and a qualitative data analysis technique. So you collect data qualitatively, you analyze it qualitatively. Of course, you can analyze qualitative data quantitatively. For example, where you then say, I've got 20 people, men and women, how many are they who are in agreement, and so on. But remember, when you collect data qualitatively, there is a technique for it. And when you collect data quantitatively, there is a technique for it. An example will be 20 interviews. You interview people individually with open-ended question. That's qualitative. On the other hand, you can collect data quantitatively, where you use a questionnaire with a closed-ended question, where you want a yes or no, or agree, disagree. That's quantitative. So when you are then going to analyze, let's say you analyze quantitative data, which in this case is null. You are simply going to say, on question 1, I wanted to know who agrees and who disagree. Of my 100, 60% of them agree and 40% don't agree. That means it's the 60 of the 100 and the 40 of the 100. But that is because quantitative approach has to do with numbers, the numeric strength, whilst qualitative doesn't have to work on numbers. So that's why I was trying to explain the principle of analysis, that once you more moving into statistical analysis, you are basically moving into the quantitative study. But when I listen to Happy, is more qualitative, which means it's not really going to be relying on numbers, big samples, and so on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Happy, as I comment on this. You are not going to be looking at a big sample, and you're not really going to be using numeric analysis in your study, because you're not looking at big numbers. Am I wrong?
Correct, Prof. Maybe I should just a little bit share with you some of the sentences that I was put in as part of my view when it comes to data analysis.
Some of the what?
The information or sentences as part of my proposal. Because I've put in the relevant information will be analyzed on its efficiency and effectiveness in striking a balance on the competing financial interests of executive directors and those of the companies they serve. The information will also be analyzed on how it had assisted the courts or will assist the courts in the interpretation of the act
The information will be analyzed, right?
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me that analysis is what I'm interested in.
Is on how it has assisted the courts or will assist the courts in the interpretation of the act in respect of the relevant financial interests.
I want you to tell me how of that analysis. How are you going to analyze that information? That's what I'm trying to get to. So you said the information will be analyzed. Fine, point taken.
Yes.
How are you going to analyze that information?
On how it had assisted the courts or will assist the courts.
No, but how? I want the verb, the doing. So here is the information at your disposal. You are now analyzing it. How are you doing that? I want the analysis. When you are conducting the analysis, what did you do? Remember when you said the information will be.
Yes.
So now we've got it. We've got the information at our disposal. Now I want you to analyze it. Yes.
Interpretation, Prof. Interpretation.
Yeah, but how?
Interpreted.
How are you going to interpret that? I want the analysis from a research point of view. So you are a researcher. You are sitting with the information or data at your disposal. It's there.
Yes.
Now you want to analyze. How do you do the analysis?
Maybe that is where I'm getting a little lost, Prof. Maybe if you can assist me as well in that regard.
Okay, let me check if there is a Mikateko. Welcome. I know you are being abused on this platform. Are you well? Emmanuel wanted to know, because it's qualitative, can you use Atlas? Yes, to do coding. Yes, we can. Emmanuel, do you want to talk to the Atlas as a tool that can be used to analyze data? Please go ahead. Your question is, can we use it? And I say, yes, we can.
Oh, I'm fairly new to using, it was just, there were workshops on how to use it. So I just thought, because you guys are talking about data analysis and qualitative research, particularly, basically, from my understanding, your main goal is to find themes and report patterns. So if you're doing qualitative research, we know that there's interviews, focus groups, and open-ended surveys. So the process for me is you have to first familiarize yourself with the data. You begin by coding into sections, and then you just put together the similar codes into potential themes. So maybe if you have a lot of interviews, a lot of people might be feeling anxious because of the political situation, then that will be your theme, anxiety. And then, of course, you just define and review those themes. Another analysis I know is, I think, narrative analysis, when you basically study how people construct meaning through stories or personal accounts. I think that one, I haven't tried it myself, but I did attend a workshop a while ago, and the focus is on more like structure, sequence, and what is the context surrounding people's stories. And then I think, there's some more grounded
you are absolutely on the right track, Emmanuel. You are absolutely on the right track. But I think what I want you to explain to Happy is, if we take just take it slowly on Atlas, that you're now sitting with data and it's qualitative, and you want to apply Atlas being the software, right? Now, and then you're doing coding. I want you to take Happy through that, because his point was, now I have to analyze information. So because it's qualitative information, he wants to know what do I do with it. So please, you are absolutely on the right track. except that you wanted to be tentative about it. It's absolutely correct what you are saying. But let's take the atlas and then you repeat what you just said. So Happy, just listen to that discussion.
So there's videos on YouTube, but you open the application Atlas TI and then you create like a new project. You click on your document that you saved. If it was recorded, your interview or whatever you did, then you just drag and drop. This could be audio, it could be Word, PDF, and you begin by, once it's in Atlas TI, it organizes the information for you. So it already transcribes the audio file. So now you need to read through the document carefully. Then you make notes on the side. You can use like memos to capture your thoughts. Maybe you notice something that you could use in your assignment or your proposal. Then I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, but in your memo, you can click new memo and you can write down all your thoughts, reflections, all of that. And then from that, there are basically two main ways of coding. You have manual coding, and then I think it's predefined coding. And let's start like with manual coding. You highlight whichever was a meaningful segment, whichever was very powerful message relating
let's
to
talk.
your
Let's
topic.
talk about coding. Sorry for my interjection, Emmanuel. Let's talk about coding. If Happy has the director liabilities investigation, now he wants to do coding. What does that mean? I mean, I would like him to hear the process.
So
and this is remember, this is hypothetical. You don't know what the details of what he will find is. You're just taking it through we are just discussing the tool for data analysis qualitatively.
So you'd look for heightened emotions. If it's qualitative, we're dealing with people's experiences. So a quick cheat code for me is looking at their emotions. So maybe they're experiencing stress, and I look, okay, why are they feeling stress? Because of money. Then I'll make my code financial stress.
So the code will be, let's use that code. Now you've got, we'll just use one, right? Let's just use one. Now you've got one code which is financial stress, right?
Yes.
As a code, what then do you do? Because I want Happy to know he must identify codes, and these codes are informed by the content of the data that at his disposal. And you're using this atlas. So now let's take financial stress as let's say just one of the areas that you wanna build your observation on. Continue.
So with my list of codes, I will then look at the research, because I will look for research articles within the last 5 years related to those codes. And what does the research tell us? What is the impact, the effects of those codes? And then I also compare it to what has the impact been to my participants. So I review it, I refine it, and I also have to define those codes in my paper.
So you look at what were the previous finding related to this code. You also look at what does the literature say about this code, and what does the participants say about this code. So basically you are building in now your analysis on this code to back it up with the research that you are doing, right? Which I hope, Happy, you're picking up that, right, Happy?
Honestly, Prof, I'm a bit lost.
You're lost.
For me,
oh my goodness.
It sounded like it's a new thing about me. Remember, as I've indicated, let's say, for example, the data that are in my proposal, I've got things like I'm focusing on textbook, decided cases, and articles. So the issue of this atlas technique, I don't know how does it fit in this regard. I'm a bit lost, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes.
So Atlas TI is used to transcribe the data, because when you submit your proposal, you have to give your supervisor all the evidence to make sure that you are not doing anything unethical. So even though you can't disclose maybe the interview videos, you can still share with your supervisor. It should have been in your consent form that the data will be transcribed.
Emmanuel,
Yes.
I think Happy is saying he is lost, and I think let's try to see. I'll try to work around finding a way to find him, because if he's lost, we can't go further. The deeper we go on this discussion, the more lost he will be. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
I think his issue is all this that you and I are talking about is still Greek to him.
Yes.
So the point I think that we need to do is that I need to find a way to de-Greek that discussion, because indeed you are right, but he says, look, this is Greek, and we have to make it less Greek. Am I right there, Happy?
Correct, Prof. Correct.
Yeah, so he's saying let's not talk Greek for now, and I'm now thinking, how do we make it as simple as possible for his own consumption? And it's not that Happy is saying he can't do it. He's saying I don't understand, and I think I do get where he's coming from with this. So maybe, Emmanuel, what we need to do is to first say to Happy, there are qualitative data has to be analyzed. When you analyze it, you can use what we call, she was saying, making an example of coding. Coding means when you read what you are reading, you establish patterns on director liabilities. Can you at least identify that discussion from that point, Happy, that there could be patterns or trends or common issues that you are picking up from the director's liabilities research point of view, whether it's from literature or from talking to people and so on? Can you at least identify that?
Let's assume now. Let's simply assume, Prof, that maybe it's only a textbook on my disposal, for the sake of simplicity.
Yeah, let's say you are not going to read one textbook. You are going to read quite a lot of textbooks, right?
Yes.
And you are going to study quite a lot of, maybe some case studies as well, right?
Yes.
Now, when you study those textbooks and when you read the case studies, that have been that you are reading, you are now establishing that there is a pattern here, isn't it? Or there's something that appears to be very common.
Yes, I'm with you.
Now, when you see that, you beginning to say, this area, this discussion here seems to be very common.
For example, conflict of interest. Sorry.
Yeah, let's say you beginning to see conflict of interest. Now, conflict of interest is very common. In many of the textbooks and many of the documents that you are studying, it comes out. Now it's becoming a pattern from what you are reading, isn't it?
It is, Prof.
So now you identify conflict of interest as an area that you want to zoom into, right? Now in a code, well, we are using it hypothetically. Now, as a code, you are going to say conflict of interest. What about it? So you now want to hear or to read how much of it is been written as conflict of interest. Now, all the sources that you are talking to are sort of converging around conflict of interest. What does conflict of interest become? It becomes, you can make it, let's say, a code. Let's just use the word that Emmanuel was using. Then you can put it as a code. Why? Because it's a pattern, it's very common across your sources.
The sources, yes.
So you are analyzing, so that's coding. Coding as a technique that you're applying to analyze, because you cannot just analyze by reading. As you read, you then start to see what is going on here. What am I reading and what am I getting from what I'm reading? So you identify those codes that can become themes, and then can become areas where you build your narrative on.
I'm with you, Prof.
So conflict of interest can be one. Maybe liabilities can be another. I mean, we don't want to really give you answers that may be wrong, but we're just trying to show you that in your analysis now you see liabilities. How much of this is also a pattern and a trend? So as you prioritize them, you're beginning to see a trend emerging,
Yes.
which then becomes themes that you can build your analysis on. Now, what you're saying is, because Atlas is is one of the software that you can use. When you then use it, it becomes easier for you to follow the discussion on the basis that now you understand what it means.
So how do I access this? Sorry, Prof.
Yeah.
How do I access this Atlas software? Do I purchase it, or is it a sort of an app which can be downloaded, or how does one access this Atlas software?
Okay. I don't know. You can you can download it as an app. She was just saying there are videos that you can also use on that you can use to follow it, because when you analyze, we need to know what did you follow, how did you analyze this data. Emmanuel, do you want to share the Atlas one? I can share the other softwares that are qualitative. Do you want to guide Happy and others on the Atlas?
Atlas is free for UNISA students. So you just type in Atlas TI UNISA, and on the website, you can just click the link and download. And it tells you, you just use your student login.
You got that, Happy? It's downloadable on your smartphone.
Yes.
And most of your tools that you can use, Happy, to analyze qualitative data, some of them we can talk about them here. You can download them. They are downloadable. They're free of charge. You just have to understand how to use them.
Okay.
But you have to use them based on your data. Repeat that.
Sorry, I wanted to ask Emmanuel. I think she said I must type Atlas. She said Atlas I, or she mentioned something after Atlas. Emmanuel?
Oh, Atlas TI. Hi, Atlas TI. I'll type Atlas it on the Atlas TI.
It's on the Atlas. Okay, you want us, Happy, you want us to go into it now. Maybe what you can do, let's go to Google.
I think she has put it on the chat, Prof. I see it on the chat.
No, but I want us to see it so we can, isn't it we are trying to assist you in identifying one or two or many of the apps, the qualitative data analysis tools, because remember your issue was, I don't know what to use. I'm going to analyze data. So don't you think we can play with it just to see for ourselves?
I really appreciate that, Prof.
Okay, let's see if we can. Maybe let's do it through Google Scholar. Can we all go to Google Scholar? And I know Emmanuel has been very generous in putting it on this platform. But let's see Google Scholar. And if we can just go to Google Scholar and look at Atlas. Can we do that? Okay, we just go to Google Scholar and we do Atlas. But then we must do, is it Atlas? I see now, Emmanuel, are you saying is now you are putting Atlas AT? Oh, I mean, sorry, IT.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was typing fast. TI, but I've already put it's Atlas TI, sorry, but I've put in the UNISA page. If you
we'll go to the UNISA page. We'll go to the UNISA page. Before we go to the page, I just want to see, just on an open platform, how do we look at it? So we can call it Atlas TI, right?
Yes.
Can we go to, are we on the, we'll come to the UNISA one. I just want us to do Atlas at, space TI. And you tell me what you see there. So it's Atlas. Happy, listen to me. It's Atlas space TI.
Yes, Prof.
What do you see?
I see Atlas. I'm doing it on my phone. I see Atlas tile, calorimeter, followed by Atlas TI software, and then I see Atlas TI.
Let's go to the Atlas. Go to the Atlas TI software. You are there. Just click there.
Okay.
So now you click there. What opens? The landing page is what?
The landing page, I see on the first heading, it says utilizing qualitative data analysis software, a review of Atlas.
Correct.
.ti PDF.
So now this is the Atlas TI that says it's a qualitative data analysis software. Can you see that?
Yes, I do see it, Prof.
And then what happens? What is the next one? What is the next one saying?
It says
on the very same page.
Thematic content analyzing using Atlas.ti software. Potentialities.
Right. The third one.
The third one says quantitative methods, an example of Atlas.it software usage.
So it says qualitative methods of analysis, an example, right? Let's click that one. Let's click the qualitative methods of analysis. Let's just click it. I mean, this is just a random trial. Can you click that one?
So yes, I did click, Prof. The landing page says the qualitative method of analysis, an example of Atlas TI software usage.
Correct. So basically what Emmanuel is trying to say, and this is what we can discuss in detail, is to say, if you've got this software, is one of the many that you could use to analyze qualitative data. So you don't analyze qualitative data just so you have to have a tool. Do you understand? So basically you have to get that in. Sorry?
I was saying a digital tool.
Well, it can also not necessarily be digital. It can also be manual, because coding, you can do it manually, but it's easier when you are using a digital tool, because you are just going to populate the information there, and then it analyzes it for you. It's like statistics. If you get somebody who understands how to work on Excel, they populate the information for you on Excel, and then it sort of build graphs, pie charts, and all that for you.
And it saves
so you
time,
may not necessarily be the person doing it, but you need assistance in that regard. You understand?
I do follow.
So in other words, you need to say, okay, I'm not capable of analyzing this data myself qualitatively, but I need to still get it analyzed. So you can bring the data, and then you use Atlas as one of the many softwares, and you've got it downloaded, and you use it on your platform to analyze data. So the data will then be analyzed using Atlas, because then in your report we are going to say, how did you analyze data? You are going to say, I've used Atlas. so that when I'm doing it myself, I should be able to get to the same conclusion that you, because remember, it's about validity, it's about reliability of your study.
Yes.
So that's one example of the tool. It's not the only tool. We can go back. If you go back to the, can you go back to the page where you were reading on qualitative? Can you go back?
I was thinking maybe we can do maybe a short exercise on how exactly does it work, this atlas. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, well,
it will be
remember
time
now
consuming.
we will do that, but remember we need to have the app downloaded. But just go back on your gadget and to that page where, just a page back.
Okay.
Are you there? Read for me the fourth line. There's vivo and vivo there. Remember, you read qualitative methods of analysis. Just one page back. Are you there?
You said I see the first heading is the one that says utilizing qualitative data analysis. Are we on
read
the same page?
Read
the fourth.
The fourth of that.
It says qualitative research using qualitative data analysis software, and then in brackets I see there's QDA.
That is another software, the QDAS. Can you see that?
I do see it, Prof.
It's called qualitative data analysis software.
Okay.
So that's another software you can use. That's why it's called, it's abbreviated QDAS.
Okay.
Now, when you go further, read the next line, read just the whole thing again.
Reviewing potential versus practice in published studies using atlas.ti and NVivo.
Now, NVivo is another, you see there it says NVivo. NVivo is another software that you can use to analyze qualitative data.
I'm with you, Prof.
Now, if we go further, you see your phone would say, or your app would say, or sorry, your gadget would say related searches, right?
Yes.
Now, if you go down, you'll see Atlas software coding. Does it say that?
Yes, I do. Atlas
you see,
TI.
it has got, it can say Atlas software qualitative. Then it says content analysis, thematic analysis, grounded theory, coding, NVivo, and so on. Now let's go look at coding, software coding. Can you see that?
Yes, I do see it, Prof.
Okay, click on Atlas coding. Then it opens up the landing page has got other aspects of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I see the first heading. I don't know whether it has taken me back, but it says utilizing qualitative data analysis. I don't know whether we're on the same
What
page.
is the last? Read for me the last. Go to the last heading. What does it say?
The last heading says computer-assisted qualitative data.
Now, when you click there, so it says computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. So meaning you're assisted by the computer to analyze the data. But remember, so when you click there, remember, Happy, the computer will not analyze anything unless you feed it the data. That's what Emmanuel was trying to say. You're going to feed it so that it can then analyze for you qualitatively. And I know what you are now saying is, now that you have an understanding that there are softwares that can be applied to analyze data, maybe you need an example of how to do it, right?
Yes.
Yes, but at least now you know it can be done through the use of a computer? Does that make your life easier now to when you look at analysis?
Yeah, now I'm following. Pro. Looks like tonight I've learned a lot.
Yeah, then you take the data as you raw data that you collected, whether it's document, people, participants, whatever, and then you bring the tool and you apply this to the data to the tool so that you can get the proper analysis. But she has shared on the chart. You know, if you look at the chart there, do you see what she has, because that's what UNISA, this is available at the UNISA platform.
Yeah,
You
I
see
see.
that
I see
one?
the link. Yeah, yes.
So can we click on the link and you tell me what you see? When you click on the link, what do you see? And remember, UNISA is licensed to use it. Have you clicked on the
I
link?
see on top it says there's 3 tabs. It says the first one says apply, followed by register, and the last one is my UNISA.
Yes, but the heading says data analysis software, right?
Yes.
Now, when you look at it, it says qualitative data and quantitative data. Now, quantitative data, do you see that they said SPSS?
IBM SPSS, yes.
Yes, the SPSS is also licensed. It's owned by IBM. It's the statistical product for analysis as well, for quantitative data. So you can use that. So if you want qualitative, you can use Atlas TI. Now, what you are saying is the software is there already for you to use in your research work, and it's already, the license are already been paid for by UNISA. Does it make sense now?
It does make sense, Prof.
Okay, great. I'm glad. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for your generosity. Now, maybe, okay, Clifford, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Prof, just put me in, maybe I lost you there, the last part. You said that the link, where was this link that you're talking about?
Oh, the link is on the, you see where, if you go to the chat in our platform right now, there's a chat button. You see that on top? I don't know whether it will be on top in all of us platform, but when you look at where you can raise your hand, you can go to the chat. Do you see the chat?
Oh, okay. No, I see now, Prof. I see.
Now, when you click on the chat, it will take you to the chat, and what has been done there is that Emmanuel has uploaded the UNISA platform where you can use Atlas. Can you see that?
No, I see that. Thank you, Prof.
Now click on that, and then it will give you the page on the where there's SPSS, and there is this Atlas TI, which is already paid for you to use as a UNISA student.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay. Now, this looks like we still have to maybe make time to play around with the software, but at least for now, understand that there are softwares that can be used to help you to analyze qualitative and or quantitative data. I'm going to ask for your indulgence now that perhaps we take just a five minutes comfort break, and then we continue. Just 5 minutes. Now, we were just discussing the qualitative data analysis, but maybe for completeness of the conversation, for you, Happy, one of the things that you do when you have collected data, because there can also be quite a lot, and I know in your case, for example, you're going to be using primary and secondary sources, so there would be no, and I don't think you're going to be interviewing anybody. But in an event that you're interviewing people, and there's so much information that is going to be at your disposal, you may want to do what is called data reduction or reduction of data. Now, qualitative research generates more data than its final write-up. I mean, remember, you're recording people as they speak, the pictures that you're taking, and so on and so forth. So that becomes volumes and volumes of data that you may want to reduce, because not everything that you collect, you're going to analyze. Now, you need to edit the data, you need to summarize it, and of course, you need to make it presentable. Because when people speak, they speak the way they do. And for you as a researcher, then you need to edit that data and make sure that it's presentable. So that is very, very important, to reduce the data so that it's useful for the purpose for which you're collecting it for. Now, let's look at the overview of the analysis of data. So again, I go back to the point, maybe where you've got now the data at your disposal. What do you do? These are just guidelines. It's not necessarily that you have to follow them, but it's just to guide you that when you got information, what do I do with it? Step one, we say, maybe organize it and prepare it for analysis. You know, because you've got it in such a way that it may be chaotic and structured all over. So you need to organize it. You need to transcribe the interviews if you have done any interviews. You know, make sure that the notes are the notes are taken and you transcribe them. There are also software that can assist you to transcribe interviews. Scan the material. Look at this material at your disposal. How does it look? And also type up some notes, just so that you've got order in the way that you interact with the data that you've got. You can then start cataloging all of the visual material. I mean, sometimes you take pictures in a way that you've got the, you know, you've taken pictures of the videos and or the visual material. Now put it in order. I'm sure you see in those commissions and in courts when they paginate the information, that they put it in order, A, B, and C, so that there is an order that you are going to use to interact with this information. The second step is then to read or to look at all of it. Now you sit with all this information and you read it, and you just look at it in totality, just so that you also have another layer or another opportunity to understand what does it tell you. So what is the impression of the overall depth, the credibility, and the use of this information? Because when people speak, at the time when you are in the zone, you don't really hear everything. But when you're now at the point where you have organized, you are able to look at it, you then start coding. Now that's what we were talking about earlier. You can start seeing what are the patterns here. You bracket, maybe, for example, the chunks, the text, the images. You write the word that represent a category. For example, you had Emmanuel saying, maybe you look at the issues around financial stress. You know, all this is, seems to be saying something to me, because now you've put it together. So you give it a code that collectively this is what it seems to be saying. And the fifth step, fourth step then is you generate a description. How do you describe these categories or these codes that you have put together? Maybe when you look at them, there's finance, there's stress. You know, put it together, maybe it's a financial stress, conflict of interest, as you are saying, directors' liabilities, and so on. What are you doing? These are now descriptions. And then you do what you call the fifth step, which is representing the description and the themes. So you're now creating themes, because remember, at the end of the day, your narrative, you're going to be basing it on your understanding of this thing, because you are the researcher and you are the one who's intimately involved with the information. Now, when you then go into the data analysis, because it's a branch of science that deals with the collection, the organization, and the analysis of data, and of course, drawing inferences from the samples to the whole population. So what then do? You look at the sample, and the sample doesn't necessarily have to be humans. I mean, if you're going to be working on documents, you're also going to have to sample those documents from the entire population of documents that you can work with. Now, we have already spoken about some of these softwares that we spoke about. Your statistical package for the social science, your statistical analysis system, your transcriptions, and other softwares, the Dragon naturally speak. So there are softwares that you can use in your research. So that's basically what we are trying to we're trying to help with your analysis on this. Now, if you look at the statistical analysis, really, all what it is that when you've got data, because it's massive, it's a volume of work that may not make sense to someone who doesn't interact with your research. So data analysis, therefore, or data statistics is a mathematical technique that we use to gather, to describe, organize, and interpret numerical data. For example, if you're working with, say, 300 participants, you're surely not going to be, talking to each one of them, analyzing each one of them, because that really is not going to be practical. So what do you then do? We expect you then to apply this mathematical technique in order for you to tell us what is it that we are getting from the 300 or the thousands plus people or participants that you have spoken to in this context. That is why we're saying if it's quantitative, rather use the large sample and use statistical analysis. If it's small sample, 20 and below, we said that is now where you can really go with the qualitative analysis, that data analysis. Now, if it's quantitative, again, we're not going to spend too much time on this. But if it's quantitative, you look at descriptive statistics. Colin was talking about it earlier. Inferential stats, regression, analysis of variance, chi-square, and factor analysis. These are just some of the types of quantitative analysis techniques that you can think about when you're analyzing data. Statistics, for example, here is just the numerical measures that are used to tell about features of a set of data, So it focuses on the exhaustive measurement of population characteristics. Because remember, when you do a study, you are generally going to use a sample in order to have a fuller understanding of the entire population. Because when you study a population, ideally, although sometimes it's possible to study the entire population, in many instances, you rely on a sample to understand the whole population. So when you use the descriptive statistics, basically, you look at the characteristics of the entire population using the sample. Remember, the principle of representative sampling now comes into play. In other words, if you want to generalize the findings of the entire population, your sample needs to be representative. On the other hand, if you look at the inferential statistics, here is just a process of sampling where you select, the selection of study of a small group that is assumed then to be related to the large group. So basically, it's the same principle that you are inferring, it's an inference that the population's characteristics from the sample. It is the mathematics and logical way on how generalization work. So essentially, again, we're saying if you cut one orange from the bag full of oranges, and the taste of that one orange is preferred by customers, you are saying to them that actually represent the taste of the oranges in the bag. You know, so if I taste what I taste, which is a small cut, and I'm happy with it, I can then just assume that this is what I'm gonna taste in the entire bag. So basically, that's what you get from the inferential statistical analysis. So I think today, what was to me key was that we need to bring as many examples as possible on the quantitative and the qualitative data analysis techniques, especially from a software point of view. And for this, I think we need to be very thankful to Emmanuel really using Atlas just as one example of the many that we can bring along. So it is an exercise that I think we will be mindful of, and we will definitely work hard to bring such examples so that they could make sense to most of you when you're doing your qualitative analysis. I think clearly it's a need for us to prepare on that, and we'll do so. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your indulgence. And with this, then I want to stop sharing and see if there is anybody who would like to raise a comment, a question, compliment, complain. Otherwise, I'm going to hand this over to Godfrey to wrap up.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.